So I'm sure you've already seen my top 10 designer list for fall. These are going to be fragrances that are from independent houses. These are going to be fragrances that are from niche houses and also possibly some luxury lines. Go ahead and stick around if you're into some fragrances that you maybe haven't heard about, maybe haven't smelled, or some new things that you'd really want to check out. Stay tuned. What's going on, everybody? My name's Joshua, and this is our channel, ScentSense. To all the loyal subscribers who continue to watch every time my new videos are uploaded, to you kind folks at home, I say thank you so much. And to all you new people who may be checking out the channel for the very first time, or maybe you've watched a couple videos and you're not too sure how you feel about it, no need for a Brexit strategy. Stick around. So in this installment, we'll be talking about 10 fragrances that I will be wearing this fall from the niche, indie, and exclusive realm. These are fragrances that are a little bit pricier, maybe a little bit more artistic, and definitely have much better quality ingredients than that of your average designer fragrance. Having said that, I'm not saying that all indie, niche, and exclusive fragrances are better than designer fragrances, but I'm also not saying the opposite. Different strokes for different folks. Coming in at number 10 is a fragrance from an independent house out of Atlanta. It's from the house of Shawn Crenshaw. Shawn Crenshaw is a very good guy who's often known for pushing to break boundaries and to help the people who feel marginalized feel very much more important. Shawn's all about making people feel empowered, making people feel personified by the fact that they are more than just something small and insignificant, that they deserve an ovation. So speaking of an ovation, at number 10 from the house of Shawn Crenshaw, we have Ovation. Ovation is a fragrance that harkens back to my earlier years. It brings me back to the late 90s, early 2000s when fragrances like Tommy by Tommy were popular, fragrances like Curve, Polo. This is a fresh fragrance, but it has a little more of maturity. In my opinion, nowadays when it comes to fragrances, a lot more fragrances lean more towards a super shower gel, Old Spice body wash, Axe body wash kind of vibe. This makes a man feel like a man. You're still gonna get the freshness that you're looking for in an everyday beater, but this one right here is gonna give you a little more of a dressed up approach. This is something that gives me a Versace Pour Homme kind of vibe. Something that's a little more distinguished. This is a little more refined in that, but this is something that if you're looking for something that's off the beaten path, but is still kind of something you're used to or something you would think would work in an everyday scenario, this is definitely gonna work. Having said that, this is a fall list, and I know what you're thinking. This is gonna be something that I wear in the early fall. This is something I'm gonna wear on those work days, something I'm gonna wear to the office. This is something that makes me feel a little more distinguished. This is not something I'm gonna wear with a backwards cap. This is something I'm gonna wear with a nice pair of slacks, nice pair of jeans maybe, maybe a button-down dress shirt. This is something that's definitely gonna work for you if you're looking for something that's gonna make you feel like you deserve an ovation. Coming in at number 10 from the house of Shawn Crenshaw, that's Ovation. Coming in at number 9 is a fragrance from a house that brings fragrances to life by being personified or interpreted from paintings. The owner and operator of this line, RENIER, is a guy who brings forth fragrance and inspirations of fragrances from his artwork. The fragrance we're going to talk about is another fragrance like the one before, something that you wouldn't ordinarily see in the months of fall, one that you wouldn't ordinarily see on lists for fall, but this is another one of those fragrances that I'm going to use as an all-around scent. It's not heavy, it's not boozy, it's not dark, it doesn't have any kind of gourmand notes in it, but it does have a striking resemblance to a very popular fragrance from the House of Creed, but this is, in my opinion, a little bit more. From the House of RENIER, Crystal Rain. Ooh, so good, man. Crystal Rain is going to give you the vibes that you get from Aventus. It's no secret, a lot of people have compared this fragrance to that. I do think it does it an injustice. I think that this has a lot of characteristics that make it separate from what Aventus brings to the table. This fragrance travels well, and what I mean by that is it starts off in one place, it moves to another place, and it ends somewhere else. This is a journey fragrance. I find that ironic, especially since the fragrance is inspired by such a beautiful painting, because art is supposed to take you on a journey, it's supposed to inspire you, it's supposed to evoke a response, and I think that's exactly what this does. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit like Aventus, but also has its own characteristic, this is definitely something you should check out. At number 9, from the house of RENIER Perfumes, Crystal Rain. At number 8 is a fragrance that was never intended to be a fall fragrance, but in my opinion is a fall staple in the fragrance community if you look in the right circles. The person who created this fragrance also owns a brick and mortar store which recently just moved to a new location. Very nice one, I might add. And the reason he made this fragrance was to personify the idea in fragrance of driving down a road with a nice cool autumn fall day with the windows down, maybe having leather gloves on, and just driving in and out of curbs, maybe with trees overhanging the road, the sound of rustling leaves flying off of the pavement and the asphalt. You get the idea. Coming in at number 8 from the house of Perfumology Clutch. So Perfumology is a fragrance house that's owned by a fragrance store. RENIER guy from the house of Perfumology built this fragrance line to be sold inside of his store. He also sells many fragrances from lines such as Imaginary Authors, Jusbox, and many, many more. But these fragrances often evoke a response of emotion from people because this is something that RENIER put himself into. He also has a fragrance called Lemme, which is a ode to his mother, which I think Lemme means for mom, for mother. He also has a fragrance called Bliss, which was a love letter to his wife. So the man really puts his heart and soul in these fragrances. Clutch is gonna give you a slightly sweet, kind of boozy feel to it. You kind of get what you get from pure Havana and pure malt, but not so much exactly like that. But think that vibe, kind of like what that fragrance is going for, but a much, much cleaner, smoother, and well-made fragrance. This is a fragrance that I think would work in pretty much any occasion, but dare I say it, it's kind of sexy in my opinion. If you're looking for a line that's pretty unique and a fragrance line that's actually inspired by something instead of just being a money grab, you should definitely go check out Perfumology. You can check them out at their brick and mortar, which is in Philly, or you can also check them out at perfumology.com. But coming in at number 8 from the house of Perfumology, that's Clutch. At number 7 is a fragrance that comes in a very fun bottle, but the fragrance itself is actually quite formal. Ironically, as I look at the bottle, the name of the fragrance is The Formal, which kind of sounds kind of funny. I don't know if maybe whoever came up with the name had a bad translation situation. I just think it sounds kind of funny, like someone asks you, well, what are you wearing? And you're like, The Formal. But anyway, enough of that. Coming in at number 7 from the house of Sillage, The Formal. I'm pretty sure you saw that right there, but there's a push button here. You press it in just like that, it exposes the atomizer. This fragrance is something that I think too many people are sleeping on. It's something that takes what Bleu de Chanel does and takes away that shower gel vibe. It brings everything else that the fragrance brings to life in this fragrance. This is something that's gonna give you a clean / sophisticated feel, but more of a peppery, woodsy vibe. This is definitely something that you're not gonna wear everyday clothes. You're not gonna walk around in blue jeans and flip-flops. This is something that you definitely should be dressed nice for. If you're tired of the same old humdrum, boring fragrances from the niche world, and you're looking for something that's just a little bit different and has that super appealing, woodsy, spicy nature to it, but without so much of that blue shower gel vibe, you should definitely check out my choice at number 7 from the house of Sillage, The Formal. At number 6 is an upgrade fragrance. This is a fragrance that, in my opinion, is an upgrade from a designer level fragrance. And you have those fragrances where the designer level is good, but the niche level fragrance just brings it to the next level. At number 6 is a fragrance that takes Dior Homme to the next level from the house of Carner, Barcelona, D600. D600 has kind of pretty much the same kind of bottle vibe. You've got the glass rectangular shape with the big cap. This one's actually solid wood, which I think is really cool. But, you know, if you can tell, like, I just put 2 freaking dents in the cover of it by smacking it with glass. There you go. D600 pretty much wears and smells a lot like Dior Homme. Where the difference lies is quality, quality, quality. D600 takes the iris to another level. It's much more smoother, it's much more refined, and it's just overall better. So if you reach the point in your collecting time that you have fragrances that you think, man, I feel like this could be just a little bit better, now's the time for you to jump on the trigger. Coming in at number 6 from the house of Carner, Barcelona, D600. Jumping right into the top 5 is a fragrance from a house that I don't have a lot of experience with. The house is Montale, and let's just jump right into it. The fragrance is Ristretto Intense Cafe. This fragrance line reminds me so much of Viktor and Rolf. Not in quality, but because of the stupid rattling thing on the cap. This is dumb. Moving on, this fragrance is pretty much coffee and rose. This is not for the faint at heart if you are a man. If you're a man and you're not sure of yourself and you don't think you can handle the fact that you don't smell like you jumped in a gigantic bucket of Old Spice body wash, then you should steer clear. Listen, what woman do you know that doesn't like Starbucks, doesn't like a tall frappe, latte, whatever, and doesn't like roses? There's none of them. So why not walk up to a woman smelling like roses and coffee? Sounds like it's simple logic, right? I often steer clear of fragrances from houses that I haven't had a lot of experience with, and I've heard some rumblings that people don't really care for MANCERA and Montale. They find that they kind of make a lot of redundant fragrances, but I personally, in my experience, haven't smelled anything like this. I think this will be perfect for date nights in the fall. I think this will work perfect in cooler weather. I think it'll actually really work well in the winter time too. I think if you were to overspray this, this would definitely not work. I think this would not work in the dead heat of summer. I feel like it'll be a little bit too cloying, but I think this will be perfect for fall time. So if you're looking for something that's super unique and you want to walk up to your lady smelling like roses and coffee, or your man smelling like roses and coffee, at number 5 from the House of Montale, that is Ristretto Instant Cafe. I'll just put this stupid, God, it's dumb. At number 4 is a fragrance from the House of Creed. It is often viewed as the ugly step-bastard son. And what I mean by that is a lot of people will look over this fragrance because there's a certain designer fragrance that smells a lot like it in most people's opinions, and it can be had for less than $30. It was made popular by Mr. Jeremy Fragrance, so I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going. At number 4, a fragrance that smells a whole lot better than Mont Blanc Individual, Creed's Original Santal. Often referred to as unoriginal Santal, Original Santal smells a whole lot like Mont Blanc's Individual. Mont Blanc's Individual has yet been discontinued and also came out before this one. So a lot of people think that this was inspired and copied by copying that fragrance. I personally think this is much smoother, much creamier, and the sandalwood in this is much better. Yes, you're gonna get those dryer sheet vibes, the raspberry touch, but this is gonna give you something that's a little more sophisticated, a lot better blended, and this is something that's going to just last longer and just smell better. It's like the equivalency of Great Value peanut butter and Jif. If you're one of those people who think it's the same, just pause this video, destroy your phone, and never watch another YouTube video again. In fact, you probably should seek counseling because you have a problem. If you're of the mind of people that realize that only choosy moms choose Jif, then you should definitely check this one out because this one will definitely work better for you, even though you gotta pay for it. Coming in at number 4 from the House of Creed, that is Original Santal. At number 3 is a fragrance that I own only one from this house. I think this fragrance is spectacular. It weighs a crap ton. I really feel like I could do a few curls with this, or maybe a small child could. I think the cap could be used in case of danger. I think if you were in a car and it was flooding and you had to get out quick, that you could take the cap and you could just break the window and you could get out safely. From the House of Tiziana Terenzi, that is Spirito Fiorentino. I hope that my diction or my accent was authentic. I'm sure it wasn't, but that's enough of that. Talk about this fragrance. Let's talk about first the fact that the cap weighs more than the actual bottle. So when I took the cap off, I thought this thing was empty because of just pulling it off and feeling the loss of weight. I was like, man, this has got to be empty. But no, it's definitely not empty. What you're gonna get from this is a lot like Baccarat Rouge 540, but with a little bit of smokiness and this leather vibe. This is more of a manly version of Baccarat Rouge 540. If you're a guy who likes B540 and you felt like, man, it's a little too femme for me, maybe you're one of those guys and you want something a little more masculine, a little more pushy when it comes to how it projects and how it performs, this is what you're looking for. It starts off with a slightly aggressive note on the top. Some people feel like it smells like burnt plastic. I don't get that at all. I get leather. But this is something that dries down to something more sweet, and it's a little more seductive because you have that leatheriness into it. I think this is perfect for the fall weather. It's actually very versatile in my opinion, but I think it's gonna work really well with those sweet notes and that leather in that cold air. Coming in at number 3 from the house of Tiziana Terenzi, Spirito Fiorentino. Coming in at number 2 is a fragrance from a house that I think is vastly underappreciated. I think a lot of fragrances from the house are viewed better than this one, and I think it's crazy. Fragrances such as Panda, Squid, the list goes on and on. But the fragrance that takes the cake from this house and has been one of my favorite niche fragrances, and if I had to give away all of them but 2 or 3, it'd be one that I would keep. From the house of Zoologist at number 2 is Camel. Camel is something that's very artistic. This is something that's going to make you feel like you're experiencing something. You're not just smelling it, you're experiencing the smell. I'm not trying to sound artsy-fartsy or super intelligent or important, because I'm none of those things. But at the end of the day, this is something that I think is worth mentioning. This is a cool Middle Eastern vibe fragrance that's going to give you that vibe of, if you've ever watched the cartoon Aladdin, when the guy's walking in the beginning of the movie through the bazaar and the guy's yelling, "Sugar, dates, and pistachios!" The smells that are coming up in the air from there, I'm sure smell a whole lot like this. Fragrances from this line are supposed to evoke an idea of an animal's habitat or where they're from. And I'm sure, based off of that, and based off of the smells that I've smelled individually from the notes that are in this fragrance, this one does a really good job. Coming in at number 2 from the house of Zoologist, that's Camel. The fragrance that's coming in at number 1 is from a house that has quickly become my favorite niche house. This is a fragrance house that blends 2 of the things I'm most passionate about, which is music and fragrance. If you're a fan of the channel for any length of time, you probably already know the fragrance line I'm talking about, but this fragrance is probably one of the best, if not the best. Coming in at number 1 from the house of Jusbox, the fragrance is 14-Hour Dream. 14-Hour Dream is inspired by the time and musics of bands such as Pink Floyd. It's inspired by a music festival that was headlined by Pink Floyd themselves. This is a fragrance that as you smell it, you smell so many things going on at once. You're gonna get this sweet vibe, you're gonna get this smoky vibe, you're gonna get this resinous vibe, but you're going to smell all of it at once. It almost smells like a slightly smoky, resinous marshmallow. I know that sounds weird, but it's just so good, man. It's so sweet, it's so sticky, but yet it's airy at the same time. It's kind of weird. It kind of feels like you're tripping when you smell this. I have to say, if you haven't experienced this house, you should buy at least the minimum a sample pack and try them. Smell the whole line. I promise you that you will not smell through the entire line and not find one that you feel you have to have. Cheeky Smile, Green Bubble, Living Loud, 14-Hour Dream, Feelin' Chill, Beat Cafe, Green Bubble, I think I already said that one, Beat Cafe, Golden Serenade. There's so many of them that are just so good, and you should definitely check out this house. So coming out at number 1 in my top 10 fragrances that I will be wearing this fall that aren't designer. At number 1, Jusbox, 14-Hour Dream. All right, that about does it for me. If you're looking for some alternatives to the designers that you're constantly seeing in Facebook fragrance groups and you're constantly having shoved in your face in department stores, then you should definitely look no further than this list, because these are ones that I think will definitely work for you. So let's get the conversation started. So what are some fragrances that you would have had put on this list, and what are some fragrances that you would have taken out? Have you tried any of these fragrances? How do you feel about these fragrances? Leave a comment in the comment section below. As always, I thank y'all so much for watching my content. I'm gonna try to be a little more regular with my content, but I appreciate you being steadfast and continuing to watch. And as always, people, I'll smell you later. Peace.